be looking at process of stakeholders analysis. In our previous lessons, we had considered the importance of why we had to carry out stakeholders analysis. It's very, very key. We get the support of key players in the organization. It aids project visibility and it aids project alignment at a very, very, very early state. So now we'll now look at how the processes of conducting stakeholders analysis. We'll be looking at 4 core processes and stages to conduct stakeholders analysis: identifying the stakeholders, classifying the stakeholders, analyzing your stakeholders, and engaging your stakeholders. We know who the stakeholders are, but how are we then going to identify those stakeholders? There's a need to classify them so that we can deal with them in strata. Then there's a need to analyze those stakeholders, their level of interest, their level of influence, their level of commitment, their level of authority. And definitely we need to constantly collaborate and communicate and engage with those stakeholders. So there are various methods that we can use to identify both internal and external stakeholders in the organization for any process discovery work we are doing or any other initiative or project we are trying to execute. And you can follow any of these strategies just to identify who those potential stakeholders are. Don't forget that we had mentioned that we have SMEs. We have SMEs. So we have Mr. Wally. Mr. Wally sits in a particular ministry or in a particular department, is an SMEs. So traditionally, when you are coming into that domain, there's every likelihood that you will know that Mr. Wally is an SME. We have project manager. We have the testers. You will remember in our first series, in our lesson 1, where we had identified some of these critical stakeholders. We have implementation SMEs. We have the regulator, we have the suppliers, and so on. So we can conduct focus group. We can have brainstorming session. I love to call it brain jamming session. You can do research, you can do consultations, and you can carry out interviews just to ask some salient questions like, who understands the system very well, who manages this system, before deploying the system to production. Are there people that have to do some form of validation, or before we deploy this process, are there people that have to do this validation? Who is a key sponsor? There's every likelihood that you'll have met with the sponsor of the project. So I'll equally then speak about how you can use existing stakeholders to identify more stakeholders in your process discovery work. So for example, other sources of stakeholders identifications are interactions with your sponsors. So the sponsors is able to tell you who you need to draw in into your process discovery and requirement elicitation efforts. The customer, the end users of that system, the SMEs, you are most likely going to work hand in hand with a project manager, a product manager, depending on their approach of delivery. It's likelihood that the project manager will equally mention critical resource or critical individuals that you need to meet with. It's equally very, very, very high. The regulator might point to, they might give you some form of assurances to then say, you need to talk to this person, you need to talk to this person. It's important you might want to really talk to the user of those services or those products. So, for example, you are eliciting a particular requirement, or you are digging deep in on a process, and you want to know people that use a particular systems, who are the participants, who are the actors, who are the customers or the end users of this particular system. So these are various ways you identify the stakeholders, and you identify them, you interact with them, because the why this is very very important is, after you identify and list them, you then want to then engage to fully have visibility into those information that will aid the process discovery effort. So there are some guiding questions we use in our day-to-day engagement, just to aid the process of identifying stakeholders. Questions like who will be affected by this initiative. So this initiative that I'm carrying out, these changes that we intend to carry out, who will be impacted with these changes, who will support this initiative. This will help you identify stakeholders who will oppose this implementation. Are there several other government regulators, sectors, or ministries, inter-operational ministries? Are they inter-operational processes? The output of this process, where does it flow into? This helps you identify other key source of stakeholders who will be impacted by this project, who can influence this project negatively or positive. You really need to be very very aware of your influenced people influencing your project internally, externally, positive or negative. And like I said, are there laws, are there regulators that by you just need to conform to, you need to work within their regulation. So these are some of those questions that you ask, that gives you visibility into identifying some of those stakeholders. So we've finished stakeholders identification. So we'll just be going into after identifying those stakeholders. So what do you need to do? You need to classify them. You understand? So it's a broad group of individuals that you are just identifying, listing. You then need them to you need to put them in a bucket based on different categorization. Do they have similar interest? Do they have similar needs? What attributes does these stakeholders possess? Can I group them based on those attributes? So, for example, there's a similar table here that shows how we've classified some stakeholders. So you can see we've classified this report under government and regulatory authority. So, for example, I need to meet with a a public advisory committee. I need to meet with some people with the regulator in the government, some regulatory bodies. So I'm able to then classify those stakeholders. Don't forget that the reason why you have to classify these stakeholders is it aids your strategy. It aids your strategy of engagement. It allows you to engage them, maybe using the same strategy, or engaging them as an entity. So, for example, it could be, oh, I'm undergoing a particular work within the community. So, who are those stakeholders, and how can I then group them together? Company and commercial organization, and maybe other internal stakeholders. So it's very, very, very key. After you've identified your stakeholders, you have to then put them in similar group of needs and interest or attributes. Could be the industry they are. It could be some of other attributes, age, size, interest level, location, the role, and so on and so forth. So this allows you effectively managing them. So, like we considered when we were identifying stakeholders, there are also guiding questions that will help you to classify these stakeholders. Which individual have similar needs? So, I've interacted with Ayo, Nkechi, Jeanette, Victoria, Wale. So, among all of these stakeholders that I'd identified who has similar needs, who have similar interests, need, what do they have in common? You try to profile them. Are they millennials? Are they young? Have they been working in this particular domain for 20 to 25 years? Are they new intakes? Did they all use the system? You just try and filter things that are common among the stakeholders and that allow you to classify and group them accordingly. So after identifying your stakeholders and after classifying them, you then need to analyze them. So one of the reason of putting them into a container or into strata is it aids the analysis of those stakeholders. So you can analyze as a group or as an individual. So it equally saves you time, and there are possibilities that you might see similar traits when you are analyzing your stakeholders. And it's also advisable sometimes when you're analyzing these stakeholders, you then realize like, oh, these stakeholders can equally be further classified along some of my segment that noted. You understand? So it's very, very alright that, oh, I'm speaking to a stakeholder, I'm trying to analyze a stakeholder, so I can change his interest group based on the interaction I'm having. So the next step of your stake analysis is just to determine some critical consideration and factor. Who is the most powerful, level of interest, who has knowledge, what's the attitude of the stakeholders, what motivates them, what's their commitment level. And these are very, very, very important and key to process discovery effort because it just allows you to deal with them. You know how to manage them effectively because you don't want to burn out. You don't want to, and there's this saying that you do to people how they want you to do to them. So you just want to be intentionally, you want to be intentional about dealing with them. You want to be intentional about communicating with them. You don't want someone that is really not interested in the project. The same effort that you are giving to somebody that is very, very interested in the project, you don't want to spend the same time. You don't want to have the person being turned off totally. But one thing you should bear in mind as a BA, and from my experience over time, is and those things change, so they are not sacrosanct. So you must be very, very good to decipher, like, oh, when are these stakeholders? I can notice that this particular stakeholders is interest level has really, really, really changed. So we'll be analyzing stakeholders motivation, stakeholders power and interest grid, stakeholders importance and commitment, stakeholders knowledge and attitude using um, a, a gradient. So we'll be looking at across a starting point to a high point. So we can call here sometimes somewhere low. We can say here is medium, and same thing here too. So we can say here is medium, and definitely this is high. So we'll be charting this. So for example, we'll have variables that will be sitting on our horizontal axis, and we'll have variables that will be sitting on our vertical axis, and we'll be plotting them just to determine their power and interest grid, to determine their knowledge and attitude, and to determine their importance and commitment. And we'll just be seeing into work blocks uh, these stakeholders first too, and depending on the block they fall into, It then aids how we would properly then manage these stakeholders. So we'll be going into that shortly. But before we do that, we'll just see uh, how to manage stakeholders' motivation, how to motivate them, or how to identify things that motivate those stakeholders. So, to start your analysis, consider your stakeholders' motivation could affect your project. This is very very key, and this is very 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 important. So, there are some considerations, there are motivations considerations that we had identified. So, I'll just be speaking with them, and feel free. There's a note with this presentation. You can always listen to these notes. I will encourage you to read this note over and over, because once you understand these foundations, these principles, by the time we are then doing the process discovery work itself, this piece and pieces comes together and aid an effective process discovery engagement. So you want to identify the financial interest of the stakeholders. Will they make or lose money because of this project? So there are stakeholders that, and they are keen on the naira and kobo. They are keen on the pounds. They are keen on the USSD deliverables. For them, it is cost and benefit based on finances, financials. So you want to really understand what motivates them and their exact interest as it relates to that particular project effort. Their morals and ethical value, what's their belief system, what's their social acceptance, what disposition do they have in terms of cultural value, in terms of cultural expectation. It allows you to effectively deal with those stakeholders. Then rights, legal rights, law, legal rights, and they would like to do things by the books. By the way, it's good to do things in the aspects of the law. Rules and regulations, business rules, they will always follow protocol. They want things documented. They want necessary approval and governance in place. Their religious beliefs, it's very very important. Don't forget that you are dealing with people here, irrespective of the domain, irrespective of the organization. People will always be people, and people like to be treated with respect. People like to be understood. People like to be heard, and this is why we are taking some time to actually analyze stakeholders analysis, so that you have what is needed, you are geared up, you have those things you watch out for to effectively analyze those stakeholders. So there are political options and their belief system in the society, their business interest, what interests them outside the project, what other things did they expect, their revenue, their expectation, and this initiative that we are carrying out, how does it change our perspective or our viewing as an organization. Their knowledge is very, very, very key. How knowledgeable are they about these projects? What level of excitement are they watching out for this project? There are people, I've worked with fantastic people that the knowledge they have about the initiative, the knowledge they have about the project is very, 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 very high. So those kind of people you really want to. So for example, you can see doing research, document analysis, your stakeholders will like, oh, I'm willing to help you dig into this information. No, just give it to me. I'll help you read more about it. Or doing some focus group, the guys like, oh, I went back to read about this. I have they bring a lot of things. So such kind of stakeholders, you should know that, oh, I'm supposed to engage the stakeholders in some discovery effort, because they are very very knowledgeable, and it exacts them. The fact that they are contributing to knowledge really really motivates and excite them. So their demographics, you understand the opportunities, age, income, and their thinking, their expectation, their behavioral perspective, their environmental stewardship. So there are people that they always like to create environmental footprint. They love contributing directly to the society, to the environment at large. You really want to identify those kind of people. The value of ownership. What do I stand to gain? You say you want to talk to me. You say you need me to. You need to work with me to be able to achieve this process discovery. What's in it for me? You need to tell me what is in it for me. What value? What gain? Or am I losing anything? Will I lose my job? Will I lose this control that I have? I will I have to still review this process after you are doing your after you are done with your process discovery work? We have a say in how this project will be run. So you really want to identify those kind of people, and those kind of people, like I said, when we are looking at the grid, you actually want to know where they fall into your Y and X axis so that you can properly then deal with them. Then their communication preference. No, I'm a very, very formal person, and you must address me as such. I'm informal, I'm semi-formal. You can't just walk into my office. You can't just set up a meeting same day and you expect me to attend. You have to pre-inform me. You have to tell me way ahead. You have to give me week notice. No, you have to send me an email. No, I don't access my email. I prefer you call me and inform me about this. So you just have to have this properly at your grips, and it helps you to better deal with it with stakeholders. So now we'll be looking at the stakeholders' power and interest grid, like I said earlier, and we charted this along the X and Y axis. Don't forget I said we are starting on a baseline of zero or nothing, and this is actually very, very high. This is extremely low. So this is low here, and this is higher. So for example, a stakeholder that is very powerful and influential, that is very, very powerful and influential, and is very, very interested in your projects. You understand? Mr. Juwon is very, very powerful and influential. He is the MD of that organization. Is the DG of that particular agency. Is the commissioner of that particular ministry. So you is very, very high. It has influence. In fact, it can shut down your project. It can shut you down. And he's very, very interested in your project. Very, very interested in your project. The level of interest is so high. He wants to be informed of everything happening at that particular project. It costs to even ask for information. You have to manage such individual closely. You can't afford to lose that individual. You can't. If you do, you are doomed. So you have to manage that person very, very well. You have to ensure their interest in that project is preserved. You have to ensure that anything they want is highly given to them. You understand? And so they are high and powerful people. Um, their level of interest in that project is very, very low or at the medium. So we can put this at medium. So everything that falls in this line cut across that medium. Yes, low to medium, medium to high. Yeah. So you have stakeholders that their level of influence is very, very, very high, and their interest level in that particular project is very, very, very low. So you just have to meet their need. You need to ensure that they are satisfied. And like I said, you need to be aware that this power and influence level fluctuates and the level of interest to fluctuate. So the fact that stakeholders, so for example, the stakeholders power and interest grid will tell you that, sometimes common sense, you might just say this particular stakeholders is level of influence, visibility, and power is very, very low and is not interested in my project. I can just abandon the person. But no, my power grid says keep that person into account, update him about the project. You might not spend as much time and resources you would do for someone that has high influence and high interest. But bear in mind that over time, this guy can be won over. Or over time, so for example, look at an initiative that you're starting, and when you're starting, Mr. Miss Victoria is probably an NYC. This is not demand. This is just use case. Yeah, so she's probably an NYC staff that is starting at the low level cadre of an organization, and bear that in mind. She has the low level of authority. She has low visibility, her power and influence level, and she does so well at her job. Immediately after NYC, she was retained and she moved to mid management. And because of her attention to details, the fact that she does a lot of work, while your project endeavors is still going, she just suddenly become influential. If you know that thing about when you are going up, you treat people you are meeting down very well, so that on your way back they will equally um, give you that level of respect and treatment. So you want to keep this person into account. You really, in fact, this person, your agenda is to sway this person over. You understand? Your agenda is to sway this person over. So we have people with a low and very, very high interest. You equally want to keep those people informed. So it's very, very important to analyze your stakeholders along power and interest grid so that you can effectively know how to deal closely with those people. So we'll be looking at another grid, which is the stakeholders important and commitment, and this allows you to gauge the importance of that stakeholders to your project success, not to your project, oh, to your project success. So the key word there is success. You understand? So there's a difference. Will this stakeholder make my project successful? Will this stakeholder make my process discovery work successful? Will this project make my life successful? Do you understand? If there's anything like that. So you really need to watch out for your cheerleaders. You really need to watch out for your hypers. You really need to watch out for your strong believers. You really need to watch out for people that they are being objective, they are not here, they are not there. You really need to watch out for people that they are fully on board with you. Do you understand? Because these people will do everything to ensure that this project it's very, very successful. And like we did doing the power and influence grid, power and the influence and interest grid, we start from ground zero. We have so calling this low is not mistaken. We call it have the medium. We have the medium, and definitely we have the high. So here too, we have the medium, and definitely we have the high. So commitment level is low, commitment level is in between low and medium, commitment level is in between medium and high. Importance, the level of importance of those stakeholders to your project success is low. It's somewhere between low and medium. It's somewhere between medium and high. So, for example, so that you can fully visualize this grid. So, I have a stakeholder that his level of importance to this particular project is very, very, very low. Do you understand? And his commitment level to is low. Do you understand? So they are the people that I refer to as my cheerleader. Then we have people that their commitment level is very, very, very high. Do you understand? Very, 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 very high. Their commitment level is very, very, very high, but they are important to your project success. It's in between low and medium, and they are strong believers. Then we have their importance level is extremely very, very high, and their commitment level are like, oh my, they must be fully onboarded. You understand? So just bear that in mind, and that helps you to critically deal with those people. So we'll also be looking at stakeholders' knowledge and attitude. Be looking at stakeholders' knowledge and attitude before we then go into stakeholders' engagement. Um, so in stakeholders' knowledge, how knowledgeable are they about that project and what's their attitude to that particular project? Do you understand? So this helps you to this helps you know how you really want to. Don't forget that the reason why we are going through these grades is to sway the stakeholders. So people that are really not knowledgeable about the project, I want to know what I need to do to make them knowledgeable about that project. And people that has a wrong or negative attitude towards that project, is there anything I could have done better, or is there anything I could do to probably sway their attitude from negativity to positivity? Do you understand? So these are things, or can I reduce their negativity level a bit? You understand? So those are things that you really need to bear in mind. And don't forget, we always start from low to medium and then to high. Then we then go to low to medium and we then go to high too. Yes. So stakeholders who are supportive but lacks required knowledge. Do you understand? They are interested in your project. Do you understand? But they lack uh, the requisite knowledge. Do you understand? They are very supportive. Their attitude to your project is extremely very, very high, but the knowledge about that particular project is extremely very, very low. So you just need to nurture them. You need to support them. They are ignorant, but you really need to support them, and you have to do everything to ensure that they are aware of that particular project. Do you understand? Then stakeholders who are aware and they oppose required attention. So so his attitude to the project is very, very low. It's extremely very, very low. He has a negative attitude to the project, and his knowledge about our project is equally low. So for me, I always look at it from the perspective is, oh, you are probably not well informed about this particular process effort, and maybe that's why you're having the wrong attitude. Do you understand? So the plan is just to find a way to plan, identify, and reduce the negative stakeholders. You understand? You just have to find and ensure that you don't have people. Yeah, in fact, attitude is everything. You understand? You want to reduce these negative stakeholders. Try as much as you can to sway them over, but you really want to. You don't want these people to affect your team setup or your stakeholder setup. So you really want to you really want to know what you need. You really need to be careful about this set of people. Then we have people that are they are very very high knowledgeable. This is everybody's dream when you have somebody that is very highly knowledgeable, and they add it to that project. They are weak the team. You critically support them. They are your shine. You understand? So you can see some of the importance of the stakeholders' knowledge and attitude. So for this lesson, will be the last thing we'll then be talking about is stakeholders engagement. And in bringing this home, we'll be using the stakeholders engagement matrix. This helps us identify and build appropriate engagement approach tools, communication plans with these stakeholders. So like I said, you need to engage the stakeholders, you need to analyze them, you need to interact with them, you need to identify, and obviously, you then need to engage. So, the engagement plan matrix, like you can see, so helps you in building engagement strategy for identified stakeholders. You understand? So don't forget that you can use. So what these indicators mean is you can choose to while you are building your engagement plan matrix. So you can choose to build them across knowledge and across using any of these. So for example, you can decide to like, oh, I want to as I'm identifying these stakeholders, I equally want to identify them alongside their power and interest grid or their knowledge and attitude basis. So you can just use an indicator. Do you understand? Power and interest grid. So apologies that I didn't clearly identify our legend to aid visibility. So I'm just trying to do that now. So you can see it. I'm being intentional by using the same color indicators. So if you can see, so we are using the power and interest grid. You understand? So keeping account, keeping form. So keeping accounts, keeping form. Yes. So this is just to aid visibility. So when you are dealing with these stakeholders, you actually know the buckets of power play and interest they fall into. So for example, these are a list of your stakeholders. Maybe this is my domain SME, this is someone in Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Economic Planning, Ministry of Infrastructure, and this is a chief somewhere. This is an NGO, this is a vendor, this is my supplier. Then area of expertise, area of influence and interest. It will equally be nice. You can equally then introduce their motivation, their motivating factor, their motivating factor. If you check the our academy hub, we have some library of assets that properly give you like some standardization, that some standardized templates that you can use to execute some of your process discovery works, and it helps. It works. It's something. It was prepared by professionals ourselves, and it helps. So I would advise you download them. This will aid and help your process discovery effort. So what are the motivating factors that influence, well, what are the motivating factors that influence each of these stakeholders? So because drawing up this engagement plan allows, it drives the way, it drives. So if you call this your strategy to engage this person, it drives, it gives you a full list of how you interact, how you communicate, how you collaborate with this particular stakeholder. Then during the project phase, when will you be needing this particular stakeholders? Is it during the inception phase? Is it during the construction phase of the project? Or is it when you are transiting that particular project or during the approval phase? Or will I be needing these stakeholders in all of the phases? You understand? So, who is the manager of the stakeholders, or what is being managed by the stakeholders? What portfolio? Engagement approach is very, very, very important. Am I to consult him? Am I to just inform him? Am I supposed to consult and inform him? Am I supposed to meet him for approvals? Then engagement tools is very, very important. We spoke. Everybody likes a particular way of communication. What has been agreed? What works for this person? What works in this domain? What works with this individual? You must just bear that in mind. See, the success of your process discovery work is largely dependent on the stakeholders, because for me, a way to always look at this is I am entering this domain that I don't know, and I am as powerful as you make me be. So, for example, in dealing with stakeholders, I give them that power. I allow them perceive like, oh, and it's just the truth, because a stakeholder that has the wrong attitude, that has the wrong interest in your projects, like we see during the X and Y grid analysis of those combinations of variables that we did, they can mine your project. They won't share required information with you. They will ruin your requirement gathering and recitation, and how it's called process discovery for a reason. And that's why once you have these critical tools, once you have these critical understandings, you practice them over time. You can go into any sector, you can go into any domain, you can go there, elicit what you need to leave, and leave. So just have that focus in mind. So their engagement tools, how does this person need me to be addressed? How does this person want me to consult him? And the frequency of communication. I want to be in the knows. I just want you to tell me the level of abstraction. Do you understand? Cut the chase. Just tell me, give me a summary, a project summary. I don't need all of the details. Oh, no, I need all of the details. You need to tell me everything. I need to be debriefed on a need to know basis. No, it is mandatory that you debrief me. Uh, Frequently, less frequently, occasional. So you just build an engagement plan across all of this. Do you understand? So that it then helps you to identify and put them into this bucket. So this plan matrix is what then aid your collaborative efforts, the way you communicate, the way you engage with the stakeholders, and doing process this discovery work. So thank you very much. I think this marks the end of stakeholders identification, management, communication, collaboration, and engagement and analysis. It was an interesting time. I learned a lot, and I hopefully know you did. So thank you. We'll see in lesson 2. Thank you very much.